Welcome back to the Bernat Blanket Stitch Along. We're on clue number 4. Yay! All right, so clue number 3 was last week. To look at that previous video to reference, you can go do that right now and get caught up. This is where you should be. Let's pull out this fantastic piece that I love, love, love. Look at that. 48 inches of handsome, beautiful knitted bliss here. Beautiful on the front, beautiful on the back. Love it, love it. You did that. All right, and if you didn't, go back and look at that video. All right, let's get started on clue number 4. Are you ready to shake things up? Yes, this week we're working on the shaker texture section, and it is working with 3 colors. Yes, 3 colors, and you're totally going to love it. And you already know what to do because you've worked on this before with the Knit One Below with 1 color, but we're going to work with 3. I'm going to show you everything you need to know. You're going to be twisting it up along the side, and even though this is a 12-row repeat, yes, you heard me, 12-row repeat, once you know how to knit the rows 1 through 5, you're actually going to be able to do the rest of the rows. It just points to the different row to repeat the same as just switching the color. So it's totally easy. You're going to go with the cast on. Since you've been doing this the last few weeks, you know how to do this. You can refer to the other videos if you need, but you'll be casting on in color A, mine is dark gray, in 27 stitches, and then work the first row in a knit stitch, so the entire row, and then that's going to be the wrong side. And then you'll start with me on row 2, and we'll work with the first color to integrate that in, and we'll really go through all these, and step by step I'll be referring to these directions. So it's really a pattern that you're going to start with the color change and get into that knit 1, knit 1 below, knit 1, and keep repeating back and forth. And then the third row just reemphasizes that structure with a knit row with C with the same color, and then you change it up and it offsets a little bit in a different color, and you do 2 rows, and then you come back and you change the color and offset it back. So we'll get into this, you'll be able to see it, but what I really recommend you get is a removable stitch marker. I wouldn't get one that's a plastic one. I get one that's a steel or something that's easy to change, because we're going to use this to tell what row we're on. It's going to be easier, and you'll see how to do this later on in the video. Let's get started. Jump in, cast on, and work row 1. All right, so cast on your 27 stitches. All right, after you got the 27, then just knit a row, and it'll be a wrong side row. When you get back to the front, after you've knit that row up, you're going to mark the right side, and we will meet on row 2, which will be the right side. See you in a little bit. Okay, so we've knit, and I'm going to put a stitch marker down below. I'm just going to grab it kind of on the cast on edge here, real nearby, because I'm going to be knitting in stitches below, and I don't want to get a hang up on this little marker here. Okay, so we are starting with our second color. Sorry, we're on row 2, and go ahead and put that new color, hang it on behind. You can hold the yarn to the back with your first color here, and we're going to work the first stitch just by knitting, very similar to last week when we changed color immediately. Okay, so we're going to knit 1 below here. So if you remember, we had this little purl bump here. Just go right underneath it into that empty stitch here, the row below, and knit it. Okay, and then we're going to knit the next stitch like just as normal, and continue with knitting 1 below, and then knit 1. So when we knit 1 below, remember we're letting it drop off those stitches. So you end up having 2 stitches behind it, and they're just being slipped to the back there. See that? All right, so continue on in that pattern, and meet me back up for the 3rd row. And we're on the 3rd row, and we're simply just going to knit across. And that's it. That's it for 3rd row. You're just continuing on with the same color. We only change color every other row, and so you won't need to do any kind of turning or clipping, cutting your yarn. It's all going to stay and twist up the side. Now, I want to say while I'm working along here, If you do have a mistake, if you remember back to clue 2, we talked about how to fix the mistakes on knit one below. And not that I think you're going to make mistakes, but it's there if you need a little bit of help. So just a gentle reminder, it's there, and it's a good visual to show you how to kind of go backward and pick up those stitches or put them back properly instead of feeling panicked and having to rip out all your work. I will say that when you're working on the second row, the very first time on the cast on row, I actually got hung up because when I first did it, for some reason I kept dropping one of those stitches, and then I had a loose stitch on my cast on row, and it was dropped, so I had to start over. So if you have the same problem that I did, just make sure when you're knitting below for the first time and it's really tight along the cast on edge, it may be just because you just got to pay extra careful attention that first row, and then you'll be fine. Okay, so I have now talked my whole way across row 3, and let's start on row 4. Okay, the 4th row with B, which is this light teal color for me right now, we are going to knit 2. So just hold at the back like we've done before and knit 2. Okay, and now we're going to follow the pattern as we've done before. We're going to knit 1 below, going below there, making sure to get all that, and knit 1. And that's it. So we're going to continue knitting 1 below and knitting 1 across the row, and I will meet you back up for the 5th row. And actually, you don't even need me for that because it is just a knit row. But I'll come to the end and remind you what row you need to be, so you can pause your video and come back at the end, and I'll give you a little reminder. See you soon. Okay, at the end of the 4th row, we have, after our repeat, after our asterisk, so we've just done a knit stitch, and then after the asterisk, we've got a knit 1. So you can think of it as when I come to the end, I've got 2 stitches left. I've just done a knit 1 below and then knit 2. So either way you read it, that's the way it works. Okay, so the 5th row, you just need to knit across. That's it. So just continue knitting across row 5 with color B, and we'll meet you back up for row 6. Okay, so we're on the 6th row, and we want to do this just as we did on rows 2 and 3 for rows 6 and 7. So we're going to knit with A. We've got we got the 1, 2, and 3 colors here. The rest of these are just tails hanging out to the side. So I want to make sure they're in order, and I'm going to grab the bottom one. So that's how you know what color is next. As I grab them, it will have this nice little swirled braid look. Let me show you on my other sample here. And you can see how this is working up, and see this little braid here. It's doing that as you grab it from the right moment. Okay, so we're going to pull this up from here, from the back, from the bottom, and keep it loose. Not super loose, but just when you start knitting your first stitch, just pull it straight up. And I like to kind of keep my finger down here. And once you get used to doing it, you'll just kind of naturally pull it in the right way. So we're knitting 1, and then knit 1 below, and then knit 1 and knit 1 below. So if you notice, when we start stacking these up, let's look at this for a moment. So this one was row 2, and this part here where 4 is, it offsets. Okay, so you're actually knitting 2 to begin the offset one, and these main ones here for row 2 is lining up with this one over here. So every other one is offset. So these line up. So the ones that line up only knit 1, and the ones that are offset, they go with a 2. So we're going to end up alternating colors throughout here, but you can kind of tell which way they go. It'll start appearing to you as you can continue with the pattern. My suggestion would be is to take your stitch marker, and when you get ready to start your next section, because what's going to happen is this is in a set of 12 rows, And when you complete that section of 12, you can move your stitch marker up, and so you know where you are in the pattern. So that's my little quick tip for you, and continue on. And the way to tell where you are, if you put your work down, is I went here, I've got one stitch here on the back, so I know the next one is a knit two. I'm sorry, a knit one below, and then you can see that you've got the two pieces on the back here. So let's knit one and knit one below. And how you can tell on here, the reason why I like this one even better than the other is because I can go directly down here and I can knit this stitch, and I can see it better because of the multicolors, rather than on Clue 2 how it was all the same color. So anyway, let's just keep on going, and I'll meet you back at the end after you've done rows 6 and 7, just as the second and third rows. See you in a little bit. Okay, we're on row 8. That's where we're going to start. And have you noticed all the wrong side rows are completely knit? You're not doing anything other than just knitting on those rows, so it makes it really easy to remember what you're going to do as far as that goes. And if you do need to have a row tracker, a little row counter, you can do that and tell if you're just 1 through 12, and then you can kind of keep repeating between 1 through 12. So we're going to grab the bottom color again, and this is with C. And we are going to knit as the 4th row, and this is one where we knit 2 to start off. Okay, so 1, 2. Okay, and then we're going to continue in that pattern of knitting 1 below and knit 1 below and knit 1. And continuing that on, and you can now start really to see this pattern develop. Isn't that pretty? I think it's absolutely gorgeous. I really love it. So continue on your pattern, returning, and then I'll meet you back up for the 10th row. All right, rows 10 and 11 with B, we're going to knit as second and third rows. So B is on the bottom here. Remember, we're just holding these out to the side, grab the bottom, pull it towards the back. And as the second row is, you are knitting 1 first. And then continue your pattern on. Knit 1 below, and then knit 1, and continue across. Okay, so we're going to continue on that pattern, and I'll meet you back up for the 12th row. I do want to show you something here. You can see that mine is a little bit curving here, and yours might be doing the same thing. I have actually made another sample, so I'm aware that this one here, so I can pull it and kind of get it a little bit wider, but have no fear, it's not going to really curl on you. This is just happening until you have a little bit more on your needles here. So when you've got some more length going on, you're going to see this start straightening up. So this is not a problem at all. Just wanted to point that out to you. Okay, so I will meet you back up for the 12th row. Continue in this pattern and knit back the return row. Meet me back for 12. See you soon. I'm going to take a moment to stop before I move on to row 11. And because you're working with multiple colors, this is a quick tip about working with color stranding. So I will say, in order to not get tangled up, every other row, and I'm sorry I didn't mention it before, but every other row, you want to flip it in the opposite way. So like if you're knitting along and you find yourself in the end and you always flip this way, every other row, flip it the opposite way so that your yarn over on the side, down the balls down the floor, whatever, are not getting tangled and twisted up. So if you'll make that a habit from the beginning, if you need to untwist your yarn now and do it that way, then you'll have that pattern going in the pattern of twisting and untwisting by turning it to the right and to the left, alternating, and it'll be a lot easier on you later. You won't have to worry about moving your balls around to untwist anything and have a mess. So I hope that tip is helpful for you. All right, continue knitting on row 11. I'll meet you back up for 12. Okay, we're on the last row of this 12-row repeat, row 12, and we want to knit from this bottom yarn, which happens to be A. So we're going to knit it as row 4, which is knit 2, and then make your knit 1 below and knit 1 and go across. Now, when you get down to where you've passed where your marker is, I'm going to show you what I was talking about earlier. And it may be a little confusing in the beginning, but now that you're seeing this pattern work up and you're starting to understand it, this might make more sense. So now that I've passed where this marker is and I'm on row 12, I'm going to mark where I'm starting row 1 the next time. So I'm just going to move this up, and I'm marking one of these stitches here. Okay, and I'm going to put my stitch marker on. There we go. And then now I know that this is where all these rows started with row 12 here. So then the ones up from here will be the next section of 12, and we can kind of move on. So if you set your work down, you'll know relatively where you are in the pattern. You can still mark your pattern or mark some notes, but this would actually be easier to do and be able to see what's happening. So continue along, and you're going to continue working rows 1 through 12 until you measure from the beginning to the end in 48 inches, just as the week before. So you're going to want to line it up next to strips 1 and 2, or the ones from clues 1 and 2, and make sure they're the same length. And I'll meet you back up and we will bind this off together. See you soon. Okay, we are ready to cast off. We measured 48 inches along the side, or whatever matches your strips from clue 1 and 2. And we can go ahead and take off these bottom 2. We're going to cut them because we want to use the yarn that matches what most of the stitches are, which all the stitches are, up top, just as we did in the previous week. So these tails will get woven in later, and you can go ahead and start knitting these first 2 stitches for the cast off. So we knit 2, just as we did last week, and bind that one off and continue going across. And if you need it looser, don't forget you can always knit through the back loops. Let me go back and show you how to do that. So if you find that you're tight when you're binding or off or casting off, you can knit through the back loop. So you simply put your needle in the back of that loop and wrap it and knit the bottom or the back loop over the front, just as before. So what it does is it just twists that stitch and adds just a little bit more yarn into it, so it makes it looser. So continue binding this off, casting it off, and I'll meet you back at the end. Okay, we're on to the last 2 stitches. Knit that last one and knit over just as you've been doing, and cut your yarn. I'm running out here. And pull that on through. Okay. Yay, you're done. Okay, were you anxious? Did you go to the end? Did you cheat and come look? I don't blame you, because it's fantastic. Let's see what this looked like. Color scheme 1 and 2 look totally different from each other. So it's really fun to work with this Bernat blanket yarn in variegated and multiple colors, all that. Okay, so I'm going to show you my finished sample here. Look at that. That's the 3 colors all working together. See how beautiful that looks? All right, so you should have 48 inches of this and finish that up. I'm going to show you my color scheme. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? So they both have like their own unique look. So seriously, I can't wait to see what you guys made. I'm going to go check out that Facebook page. So be sure and post your photos again. Hashtag Handmade with Joanne and hashtag GoodKnitKisses so that I can see it. All right, I can't wait to see you. Join me next week and we'll work more on clue number 5. Have a great day and happy knitting and crochet.